I want to talk about both of our alliance partners today. So this Friday, I'm teaching the listing contracts class. Now, a lot of you have sat in on that class. You know, one of the things that I talk about, I'm a huge believer in, is single agency. Can I get a show of hands? How many of you in here are using single agency? Whether with a buyer or a seller? Those of you that aren't, my question is, why not? Unless you haven't done any deals yet, and you just haven't had a chance to pick what kind of agency you're going to use. One of my reasons for believing in single agency is you are representing your client. They're your boss. This is like an attorney representing a client. Everything goes to that one person. I had a conversation with somebody just yesterday who they did a continuing education class. And the education class is teaching them about being a transaction broker. And he's going, well, no, we do this. And they're like totally against single agency. He says, well, single agency means that nobody in your office is allowed to show that listing or sell that listing. And I love the fact he'd been in my class and he understands what it's all about. And he says, well, no. He says, at that point, you just transition to transaction brokerage. That's the purpose of it. This is an instructor for the board who is teaching it. Not that she's wrong, but it's a different perspective. And I've always said, I'm one of the very few brokers that I know of in the Tri-County area that believes in single agency. Now, I'm also a huge believer that with the changes in the NAR settlement, that you're going to see a whole lot more of single agency being out there, representing buyers as single agents, as well as you're now looking at sellers as single agents. You've got to become comfortable with this. You have to become comfortable with understanding what your value proposition is. What are you bringing to the table that you're doing different than anybody else? Because you're going to see a whole lot more discounters out there going, well, I can list your house for 1%, you don't have to pay anything to the buyer's agent. It's going to be there. Do you understand? You're teaching the scripts and dialogues every morning now in the offices about how to talk about this type of stuff. You need to understand it. Well, here's the reason I wanted to come up now and talk about that. Part of your team is Supreme and Title Alliance. If you are representing your client, whether a seller or a buyer, to the best of your ability, why would you let them use anybody but that? You're a single agent for a buyer. Part of your buyer presentation, part of that conversation is you need to speak to Supreme. There are in-house lenders. They're the best out there. They provide the best service out there. They've got this Supreme Essentials where they're going to save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars when you get your loan. And if with this new Platinum Supreme, by the way, I love that logo. That is great. So, I mean, look at all of the advantages that they can bring to you. I also am talking to you right up front about using Title Alliance, whether you're representing a buyer or a seller. Guys, there's nobody in the business better than them. There's not another title company I know out there that does the above and beyond work that Title Alliance does for your clients. So many of the issues that I get, the phone calls that I get from the agents, is dealing with, well, this is what happened in a closing. This is what, we're supposed to close on Friday, and what do I do for this? How do I write that? They're here to help you with that. But it's not about helping you, it's about helping your client. If you're going to be a single agent, which is what I believe you should be, then you need to put the strength of your entire team behind you.
Yeah, and think about it like this. If you were to go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, you're going to need to see a specialist, the doctor's going to choose a specialist for you, usually because they have a relationship with that person and they trust them. Now, you could tell your doctor, hey, I'd rather go to someone else, and that's fine. You have the right to do that. But essentially, the way that we often let our clients handle it is basically like they say, hey, I'm going to work with you, Richard, but I know you said that I need to go to a specialist. I found a Groupon, though. And I'm going to use a Groupon to go and see the podiatrist that's over in that county over there that you've never heard of before. I think they just got their degree. I'm going to give it a shot though because it's a really good deal. And then you end up not having toes after you're done. But that's the reality is a doctor is going to send you to a specialist that they have a relationship with so that they can work together to make sure you get better. It's the exact same way you should treat it with your partners in title and in mortgage is, look, I'm going to refer you to somebody who I have a relationship with, and when things get tough, I know they're not just going to disappear, and they're truly going to help you out. Right?
You use all the horror stories of what you hear from other realtors, what happened, and this, while I cannot guarantee there won't be any hiccups, I can guarantee you that the team that I have will minimize that as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Use the people that are here as part of your team.
All right. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. You have a question? Lisa?
Yeah, I have a question for Richard.
Richard, Lisa's got a question for you.
So, off topic, if we are getting listing agreements currently signed, the buyer's agent commission is currently still in the 19 TV or whatever.
For you it is, but a lot of agents out there are now putting zeros in there,
Okay.
which
But
they
here's
always could.
But here's the question.
Mhm.
So we're taking a listing now.
Yep,
Let's say it doesn't sell by July, now we've rolled over.
yep.
What are we supposed to be doing in our contract?
Advertising it
And
outside of
an
MLS.
honest answer for you, right now, we don't know. What I can tell you is there will be an addendum. I understand that new contracts are in the work. You'll have to have your seller sign an addendum that says they understand that the commission can no longer be put in the MLS. It's going to change what's in your current listing contract. Guys, until all of this goes into effect mid-July, nothing changes. You keep doing business the way you always have.
But we're already
Make damn
seeing
sure
it.
that you're reading the MLS if you're working with buyers.
Yeah.
Because I just had a conversation the other day with someone who, luckily, they were representing the seller, and the buyer's agent didn't bother reading the MLS that was paying out zero, and they got to closing, and now they're going, where's my commission?
Oh, yeah.
Be real careful that you are reading that and that you're negotiating your commission properly today. Things will change in 2 months, but until then, it's business as usual. You just need to really be prepared. And I would, if you're not using exclusive buyer brokerage agreements now, start using them now. Now, they're also going to change in 2 months, but you need to get used to having those conversations, to having buyer listing appointments, to doing buyer consultations, explaining to them what is changed in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about this during the stats presentation, guys.
Next Friday.
Which is next Friday.
May 10th.
And I expect to see you all there, plus a whole lot more. This is a real important presentation because not only am I doing the national numbers and local numbers, but we're doing a presentation on value proposition, and one of them is geared more for working with buyers to understand what your proposition is for working with buyers.
Yeah, and
So,
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm in here at 8:30 in the morning. We're doing script practice for the NAR scripts specifically. come and join me. We did it we did it Monday this week. We had, I think, 5 or 6 people come, and we had a good conversation around it. So if you're not using them and you haven't downloaded the scripts, download them, use them, practice them. One of our agents, I thought it was hilarious, Richard, he said, well, I've gotten about 50% of it done. I said, okay, what 50% did you get done? He said, well, I downloaded them and printed them out.
Printed them out.
I haven't read them yet.
Now we're, guys, here's what scares me for you. If you don't embrace this, if you don't learn these scripts and dialogues, if you don't learn a buyer presentation, if you don't learn a new listing presentation, there's a really good chance you're not going to be here
Yeah.
6 months or a year from now.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there are too many other people out there who are going to be discounting the hell out of real estate commissions because that's the only way they can do business. And those people never last.
And there's also a lot of major companies out there that are not treating this like a big deal and are just saying nothing's going to change.
Business
And there's
is
going to be a
normal.
lot of opportunity out there for you guys because of that. Bob, you had something you wanted to add?
Just one quick challenge for the Doug Duncan event. Can I challenge everybody in here to bring one recruit from a different real estate company? This is Doug Duncan live, right? Great market update. Maybe we can get Lynn and Brian to put a little competition together, and whoever brings the most recruits in for the market center gets some sort of prize that they'll pay for, not me. I mean, but if you could, I mean, if you want to build the market center, right? We want you to build the market center. Please, please spread the news, not just to other agents outside, but tell the folks who don't show up to these meetings, show up and bring a friend.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, thank you.
We're
Bob?
already seeing in the MLS, seller won't pay any buyer's commission, sellers open to discuss. We're already seeing crazy stuff, so.
Yeah, and the number one place you're seeing it is actually with expired listings.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and shouldn't we write it in our contract when we put the offer in, like seller will pay buyer's realtor,
put-
whatever, Keller
we
Williams
put out-
Realty, 3%
You
commission.
guys
or
gave
2.
us the language for that, correct? No, you gave us the language for permits. We have the language to put in the contract for that. Did we not share it with everybody?
I think we put it on our Facebook page, but I'll repen it to the top today.
Yes, there is a specific paragraph that needs to be written into your contract. It basically says, seller and buyer agree that seller will pay buyer's broker X commission at closing.
Yeah.
It's that simple. That's the only language that you can put into the contract. Remember, the contract doesn't involve realtors. The contract involves a buyer and a seller, and it's their agreement that the seller's gonna have the
Yeah.
commission on their side of it. They're not, here's the big difference, guys. Where we used to charge, and I'm just gonna use an example, we used to charge a 6% commission to the seller. Now, we agreed that we're going to give some of that commission to the buyer's broker. Well, we can't do that any longer. There's no longer a pass-through of commissions. The seller is paying us our commission, and the seller is going to agree to pay the buyer's broker their commission, or the buyer is going to pay their broker's commission. It's going to be separated out. So when you draw up a current contract, that's going to be in there. Now, my bet is Freck is working on all new contracts. I'd be real surprised if all that stuff's not in there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stop you right there because I don't want to give up. I don't want you to give up our entire presentation for next week. So,
We're gonna be repeating it.
Yes, we will be.
They're gonna hear this more and more as time goes on.
Can you
Jennifer.
just tell us again the time and location for staff?
It is May 10th at 9 a.m. at the Gateway Cinema in Fort Lauderdale. Okay.
So I was gonna say, I'm on our listing, we're already getting some of that language when people are placing offers.
Yep.
And regards to when you guys are going to listing appointments, so we did a listing appointment last week, we were up against a 1.5%, listing agent, and the lady pulled out a pamphlet that she got a flyer that she got from the guy that left it with her, 1.5%.
Yeah.
So it's also important to know, guys, although that's what they're showing them, 1.5% listing commission, on the back side of it, it actually was paying the buyer's agent 2.5%. right? And then if they didn't sell the property within 30 days, it goes up to a full 5%.
She didn't know that.
She didn't know that, she's just thinking 1.5%.
Goes back to
So-
that whole reading thing.
Yes.
Well,
So,
this is about having conversations. And I've talked about this for years in my stats presentations. The problem is buyers and sellers, general public, get sold on headlines. We, as the professionals, need to be the ones educating the public. And to me, if NAR has had a failing, it's that it has not acted as our voice
Yeah.
in teaching the public about what the reality of real estate is. If they had, we wouldn't have been in this mess. But it's okay. The problem lies with all of us, not you guys, us as an industry, having not talked to the public in terms that they understand and being upfront with them. And yes, you're gonna see more and more of that. And that's part of why I'm saying your value proposition becomes more and more important. And your value proposition includes Supreme and Title Alliance.